The idea of a new tournament in rugby gets flung around quite a lot. The World League, Club World Cup, even a URC Cup, but one that isn't mentioned in rugby much is an International European Championship, even though that is pretty much what the Rugby Europe Championship is called, but that's not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about a tournament like the one that just kicked off in Germany in this past week. The Euros is one of the biggest moments in the European football calendar. Why can't we have something like that in rugby? Let's take a look at the pros, cons, and some ideas I have around this format. Some of the pros for a tournament like this is having more competitive rugby for the fans and having a tournament that allows more tier 2 nations to test themselves against some of the very best from tier 1, so they could hopefully improve and add to the quality of international rugby and more specifically of World Cups. But there are some downsides, like when do we play it? The rugby calendar is pretty full, and not just with international matches but club matches too. The World Cup already takes place during the European domestic season, so I doubt any format that is played at the same time of year as the World Cup would work, so it would need to be played in the summer. The issue with this is it would get in the way of the summer tours to the Southern Hemisphere giants, and even clash with a Lions Tour or a massive football tournament. This is Europe we're talking about, and if rugby tried to compete with the football Euros or World Cup, it would lose, like we saw with this year's Champions Cup final, with it clashing with the FA Cup and Scottish Cup finals, and getting chucked onto ITV4 for nobody to see. There's also the issue of devaluing the Six Nations. This is a concern that many people have with the World League and the World Cup, but I personally don't. European football has a Euros and the Nations League. The Nations League has done its job in making international football more exciting, but hasn't by any metric overshadowed the Euros, so I don't think that will happen here either. Another concern could be player welfare. Asking players to play an extra few international matches at the end of a long European season is a lot, and may not be in the best interests of the players. But teams already quite often play 4 games in their summer tours, so adding a couple extra onto that may not be so bad. Anyway, let's get into some of my ideas for how this tournament could work. My first idea for Rugby Euros is kind of an additional thing to do during the Lions series. I remember during the 2013 series, Scotland, Italy, Samoa and South Africa played a wee tournament called the Four Nations, and I thought it was kind of fun. My idea would be that all the Six Nations teams, including the ones involved in the Lions Tour, would take part along with the top 3 of each pool from the Rugby Europe Championship. There would be 4 groups of 3 and then a semi-final and final, and maybe even a third place playoff too. I also think it would be cool to have a vase and a bowl for the teams that finished in 2nd and 3rd in their pools. Now, of course, there's the elephant in the room of the Lions Tour. So the British and Irish teams wouldn't have all their best players, except for Wales. But France often use that summer as a time to rest their star players and try out some new guys, so perhaps an agreement could be made where themselves and Italy don't go full hog. But I get why this might come with some concerns, and it possibly becoming a glorified development tournament that no one really cares about. My second idea expands the tournament slightly and won't take place during another big eyeball drawer in the rugby calendar. The plan would have the tournament in the summer, the year before the World Cup, and it would host 16 teams picked from the Six Nations Rugby Europe Championship and the top 2 from the Rugby Europe Trophy, spread across 4 pools of 4. We would then have a semi-final and a final, along with a third place playoff and a plate, vase and bowl competition as well for the teams that didn't finish top of their pool. This would allow for all the teams to play their full strength sides, and something like the Lions Tour isn't happening, but there is one problem with this. And if you're a fan of football, you might also have already worked it out. The World Cup is in 2027, so the year before that would be 2026, which is when the Football World Cup is. And as I stated earlier, going head to head with that probably isn't the smartest idea, but perhaps they could organise it to take place at the end of July and early August, so it wouldn't be directly competing with it. Let me know what you think of these ideas and any ideas you have for a tournament like this in the comments below. And who knows, if a Rugby Euros became popular, it might even replace the Six Nations, a tournament you can learn the entire history of by watching this video right here. Thanks for watching.